Good afternoon, everybody, at Total Sports Recruiting. Today's interview, man, I'm very excited. I think we have a guy on here, Jeff Frye, former Major League player and owner of SheGone Nation. You see him a lot on social media. I love, I that he's a former Red Sox and all that. I also love his ideas and where some things with the game or the game of baseball are going now. And we're going to talk a little bit about it today. Where where Jeff sees the game on the professional level. We'll go down into college and then hit some high school and youth things that we see, good and bad and everything. And just a great information share and everything. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jeff Frye and welcome him to the show. How are you, Jeff?
I'm good, buddy. I appreciate it. It's a little bit cold up here where I live in Maryland now, so it's a little bit colder than Texas. But I hear you guys are getting some cold weather down there in Texas. But I appreciate you having me on today.
No, we are. I mean, I've talked to my friends being from Pittsburgh, and I did a lot of recruiting stuff in Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, New York area, and all that. I know people are complaining about the weather and everything that's up there. So, I mean, let's just jump into it. I mean, the game of baseball. You know, you're 58, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm 61. So, I mean, we played in a different era and everything like that. Grew up a different way and everything like that. Let's just start and we'll start. We're going to go the other way. Let's start from a youth thing. Youth baseball, okay? Let's talk about 8 to 14-year olds, okay? And let's talk about what are the important aspects that you see that should be going on at this age for these players.
Well, I think the first thing is that it should be fun for the kids. Okay. And we need to let them learn to love the game like we did growing up. And nobody forced us to play growing up. I mean, it was if it was a nice day, we were going outside and we were playing some type of sport. And for me, it was usually baseball during baseball season, and I would be outside. It didn't matter if it was a tennis ball, a rubber ball, a wiffle ball, a Nerf ball. We were playing some type of baseball, and we did that because we loved it, and we developed I think, our hand-eye coordination and our bat to ball skills and things like that, just playing with different types of balls and bats and rackets and stuff like that. So I think that's first and foremost. We have to let our kids, these young kids, learn to love the game, let them have fun, and not put so much pressure on them to be successful at it and work. I have two sons. One's 26, one's 23, and I coach them. And I never made them go do anything. I just say, hey, do you guys want to go practice? And if they did, we'd go outside. And if they didn't, we didn't. And it was just, I don't want to, you see so many former professionals whose kids actually don't love the game. I mean, they don't, because we never forced our kids to love the game. It's their life. They should get to do what they want to do with their life. Nobody made me be a baseball player. I wanted it. And I think that's part of the problem is that people see the outrageous amounts of money these professional athletes are making. So they want, they envision their kids being that and what all the, I guess, probably the life-changing things that come along with that. I think we got to get back to just playing the game, letting the kids be kids and have fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I hear you. I mean, you know, Saturdays, 8 o'clock in the morning. We came home for lunch, we came home for dinner, and when the street lights were on, and we were out playing, and you, I think you learn the fun of the game. You learn the game. So much now, like I said, is so team oriented. You have all these teams and everything at these young ages and all that. And sure, we did too and all that, but you only see kids playing when it's like that. I mean, you go by ball fields now or basketball courts or everything like that. It's like you were saying. I mean, we were out playing football, basketball, baseball, something, but we were out there playing. I mean, you go to the school and you play off the wall and everything else like that, and
Mhm.
you just invent games that are fun and
And
everything.
you also
Now,
learn, you also, sorry to interrupt you, but you also learn how to problem solve with your friends. Okay. So I was thinking about this. I don't know. I was thinking about this this morning, but
this is a great point. I like where you're going.
I grew up in California, and I'm an only child. I had four cousins, all girls, and one cousin who's a boy who's 4 years younger than me. And so he was like my little brother, and we would go outside and plan to play baseball in the street most of the time, usually wiffle ball. But if there were cars parked in certain areas of the street, it altered our game. And
Yeah,
so, maybe there was a car right behind over second base in the street where we couldn't run to second like we normally would. Or maybe there's a car over here. So we'd have to alter our game plan and we would figure out a way to play. If right field was closed or left field was closed, we have to learn how to hit the ball the other way so we didn't get an automatic out, even though you killed one. Just so little problem solving things that I think that today the parents are solving those problems and setting everything up for their kids and these lessons and the select ball nonstop, kids playing 100 games a year. It's just too much baseball, and we're wondering why these poor kids are all getting hurt because the major leaguers are playing less than 10-year-olds. It's
sure.
just little stuff like that I think is wrong with the game at the youth level right now.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, the other thing with the youth thing is one of my biggest things is that the change of teams and the watered down effect. I mean, you know, we had community little leagues, as I'm sure you did, and everything. And your tournaments were all around towns to where you grew up. I mean, Pittsburgh, we played like in a 30-mile radius, and all the kids were playing and all that. And all the good kids, you went and you played them all and everything like that. To where now, you know, for some reason it doesn't work out with a team, you leave that team, you start your own organization. There are so many runoffs. I mean, I actually was watching a thing to where, I mean, there's a Dallas Tigers organization down here, and they went to Oklahoma and played, and they were playing an offshoot of them, which was the Oklahoma Tigers and everything like that. I mean, you know, I know that there's some really good things. I've coached with Rawlings, and I know that it started out really good and everything like that. And now we want Rawlings in every town and everything like that. So just that watered down effect. I mean, when we were young and everything like that, to be selected to play for an elite team, guess what? That those coaches knew who you were, everything you could do. They knew everything about you. They invited you to play for that team, and there was like one, two, or three in the state and everything like that. So I
That's
mean,
what we did American Legion. American Legion.
sure,
Well, when I moved to Oklahoma when I was a junior in high school, and I played my first summer, they called it the OK Kids, and because I didn't know any better, I mean, just playing with the local kids in my town, and we had a good team. And the next summer, I got recruited by a couple American Legion teams, and they were like, they said you're too good to be playing OK Kids. You need to be playing Legion. Next thing you know, I'm playing for Spyro American Legion, and we got kids from three or four different small towns around the area that were the best kids on their high school team. It was actually like a select team, but it was American Legion. We didn't have to pay much. We had a sponsor and things like that. Um, but it wasn't just kids whose parents could afford it. It was the best players from these towns. We put together a good team, and we could, we're very competitive, very successful. But now I see with the select, it's so watered down. You got, four teams with the 12U, and the fourth team on the 12U, half those kids can't walk and chew bubble gum.
Yeah.
But mom and daddy can afford it, so they're playing. So
Exactly.
it was more of a select where, and there's nothing against the kids that aren't as good. It's just let them play in a rec league or whatever and have fun and learn how to be a good teammate, learn about sportsmanship, learn how to win and lose. Um, but they're just not as talented as the other kids, or maybe they don't really care. Maybe their parents are forcing them to go play. But
Yeah,
nobody
and
really forced.
or then Jeff, they go out and they lose 20-0 in 2 innings, and the enjoyment of the game is taken away, and kids just give up on it at that point too.
Yeah, and two of the worst summers I had with my sons were playing select baseball, and one of the, you mentioned the traveling. So we traveled from Fort Worth to Oklahoma City, and we played a couple teams from the DFW area, and we stayed 2 nights in the hotel. And I was like, "What are we doing? Why did we come to Oklahoma City or Norman to play teams from our area?" It's like, this is stupid. But there's the parents who love the traveling and going around and staying in the hotels by the pool and turning on the speakers and having some adult beverages in the evening. It's like a lifestyle, and it's I always feel bad for the kids who aren't playing, but they have to tag along with mom and dad and big brother, and they just sit there and watch baseball games all summer when they don't want to be there, but they have nobody to watch them at home. It's
And
like,
they
man,
look miserable. Yes.
they don't want to be here, and then big brother goes over 3, and he doesn't even want to talk to anybody. It's like, this is not. I don't think this is the way it was supposed to be. But unfortunately, that's the way it is now, and a lot of it's driven by money. Um, people making money off these select teams, and there's some that do it right, and we both know that. But a lot of them are not doing it
Sure, absolutely. Moving up a little bit now. I want to get into the college level and everything. I mean, for it's been funny, and I know you've probably seen some of my posts. For 7 years, I've been calling this whole thing about the Power Fours leaving the NCAA. It's going to happen and everything. I know people through the NCAA and that, and they're like, Tom, talks are going on. That's all that all that we can tell you. Talks are going on, and what it is, I mean, is you got back to it, this money thing right now. I never ever 10 years ago thought that I would see college kids making $20 million NIL money and everything like that. And, people were like, well, they're playing college. They don't get anything. I'm like, guys, have you seen some of the Division 1 places? I've had Will Bednar down at Mississippi State. I've had J.J. Weatherhold at West Virginia, and get other kids at D1s. I mean, you go down to Mississippi State. I mean, that's like the Mecca down there. Those kids want for nothing. I mean, Will ended up being the College World Series MVP when they beat Texas and Vanderbilt, and he's with the Giants now. But it's like I told him. I said, "Big guy, I'm going to tell you what. If you ran for governor of Mississippi, I said, you'd get it because you got them that first World Series thing."
right.
I mean, you walk around with him down there, and it's like, okay, you got to stop every 20 seconds because everybody wants to see him and everything like that. But I mean, this whole thing now with the transfer portal and everything, in recruiting and that, and that I do it. Yeah, I've seen the number dip. It used to be about 7%. Now you're at 5.2 or 5.3% of high school kids come out because the big guys and everything and even Division 2, Division 3, they hit the portal, man. If they can get a 21-year-old over an 18-year-old, and you know how that goes when you move up to the next level too and everything like that. So I mean, it's just making things so much harder and harder to get where you want to be. And I really think, you know, just if you're going to do it, just get the Power Fours out of there. Let the NCAA come back in with the mid majors and the and the lower D1s, the D2s, D3s, get back to running college baseball there and doing that and let the Power Fours go out because they're going to anyhow.
Yeah, and I mean, they totally messed up with NIL. I don't know how they can reel it back in. But to me, and I have people too that will tell me, it's like, why shouldn't these kids make money? These universities are making money, and this. I was like, these kids are getting the education. Okay, now I know baseball finally changed where they can get full scholarships finally, but in football you got like 85 full scholarships. So these
Sure,
kids are getting a free education that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, it's not like they're just not getting anything. And then we're going to give them millions of dollars to perform too. And what I think the biggest drawback for me is that there's no loyalty anymore. No loyalty. There's no school pride. There's no team. Everybody's looking out for themselves. And you got the quarterback who's making 5 million, and you got the lineman from, small town Texas driving his daddy's old pickup, blocking for him, who's not getting anything. Now, how is
yeah,
that good for the team? How's that good for team chemistry? And I know the football is where most of the money is, and basketball, but baseball too. Paul Skeens left Air Force to go to LSU because they gave him 500 grand.
sure, sure.
It's like the best team money can buy, LSU, right?
Well, hey, I mean, it's while we're there, the NIL, and let's look at it. Name, image, and likeness. So when they went to put this in, Jeff, it's like, okay, you have to do something. Okay, name, image, likeness. My one player, JJ Weatherholt. I, I'll tell you what, the car, their Ford dealership in Morgantown, West Virginia. He did commercials for them, everything like that. I mean, but if you look at it, it's like you said, they put the cart before the horse. And okay, here you go. We're just paying you straight up front. And you're not really doing anything and all that. You're just getting a straight payment coming in. And the other thing is just like all the tampering that goes on. And, everybody, all the other recruits, well, coach, come on now. They're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, guys, come on now. Let's be real. Okay. If you guys are not like they're saying you can't get contacted till September going into your junior year. I have kids that are sophomores that are very good players where I know these Division 1 guys know everything about them. They've communicated and everything like that. Kids know what's going on. So,
It's
I
the wild,
mean,
wild west now. It's the wild, wild west. There's
it is. Yeah, yeah,
no
I call it
integrity.
Tombstone, Arizona, man. I'm like, or Dodge City. I mean, and
Yeah,
that's what
there's
it's
no
like.
integrity, and I don't know if this is the truth, but I heard that Paul Skeens got recruited to go to LSU as they walked across the field and shook hands with Air Force.
That
That
one I don't know either.
hey, you look really good in the LSU tire uniform next year, and that kind of stuff is, I mean, to me, that's so slimy, and I think we've opened the door for that type of behavior, and now it's accepted. That
Yeah,
if you're at a D2 and somehow you got a kid that you know plays better than everybody expected, he's gone. You're not going to keep him. Somebody's going to steal him from you. Even though you might be the one who helped develop him into the player he is today, now he's going to see those dollar signs, and every big time D1 in the country is going to be calling him, and you just lost your best player. That'd be
Oh,
tough.
I'll t-
I'd have a rough
you
time.
you
Uh,
know who's really ragged off about that are these, mid majors and some of the D1s and all that. They're like, all right, we have kids come in, we develop them. Now I have this 94, 95. They This actually happened, and I'm not going to name the schools and all that, but I mean, I was finishing up uh, our summer travel schedule. Went in early to meet with coach and everything. He's a good friend of mine. He's like, Tom, you gotta sit there and you gotta help find me three arms. My one, two, and three just came back to school and informed me, yeah, well, one's going to this school, one's going to this school, one's going to this school. So, I mean, he's like, you know what? He said, and I'm not the only one. He said, we are the developmental leg for the power force and all that.
mhm. That's sad. I mean, and these poor guys are not getting paid as much money. They're probably working harder, spending more time with these kids to help develop them because they know they probably have less talent on their team. And then they just pulling these guys off their team, and then with all these bells and whistles and all this money, and saying, "Hey, come up here. We love you. We
Yeah.
didn't love
Well,
you when you weren't very good, but now that you're good, hey, come on." That's why I
and
got out. That's why.
the
Sorry, I was a sports agent for 21 years, representing professional and amateur baseball players, and I can't tell you how many times I lost a client who was heartbreaking, and then he'd say, "Well, I know that the other agent said, hey, he was great for you when you were at this level, but now that you're up here, you need somebody like us." It's like, oh, we've got all the connections, and these players buy into it. It's such a cutthroat thing, and it's hard when you're dealing with people who have no loyalty, and that's why I decided to get out of it. I'm too loyal for that crowd.
Oh, I mean, look now, and this is a big thing with the NIL too, is you have these guys who, and as an agent, you usually got somewhere between 3 to 5 or 3 to 6%. These guys that go into the portal and they're like, hey, let me work your NIL deal for you, and then like they get them 100 grand, and they're like, well, yeah, well, 20% of that. They're taking 20% from the kid. Number one, okay, you get 100 grand taxes. Now we're down to 60. Now you owe 20% of that. So what's your NIL deal worth? You haven't spent a dime, and already it's there. I mean, you know as well as I do, professionally, and so many people don't know it. The jock tax when you go and play away. You go and play in California. Guess what? You got to pay taxes there, and all that. It's called
Entertainment
entertainment.
tax. Entertainment.
Yeah,
Yeah, some city we had to pay taxes in every city we played in. In some cities, you had to pay multiple taxes. So we
sure.
were getting probably 60% of our salaries. And when I played in Canada one year, I got like 50% because Canada had to get their cut too.
No, I know. One of my friends played in the Expos organization and all that, and he was like, I'm so happy to get out of there out of the organization. He went actually to Minnesota, and he was like, thank God, because yeah, I didn't want to go up there. He said it's unreal. I mean, it's a hurt point for the Expos when they were up there, the Blue Jays, everything, because of the taxes and everything else like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. Well, let's move on to professional. I know this is where you're going to get your smile and everything else like this. Tell me, I mean, you've been there. You were a show person and all that. What's wrong with this game?
It's boring. It's boring to watch. I think it's well. I mean, I could go on, but I mean, one of the biggest issues, in my opinion, is that we have people that are running major league organizations who aren't, they're businessmen and they're intelligent guys, but they don't love the game and they don't really care about the players, and they are trying to, they think that they have figured it out. They think that baseball, that they figured out a better way to play baseball. So now we're not going to worry about choking up with two strikes and putting the ball in play. We're not going to worry about moving runners over, butting guys. We're going to focus on hitting homers, getting swing and miss pitchers, um, and power arms in the bullpen, and take our chances. And it's so difficult for me to understand how people don't realize that a lot of former players that I'm friends with don't watch the game. They can't stomach it. And I love watching baseball, a good baseball game. But when I'm watching a baseball game, and we've been around the game, we see it differently than most people. And so we see things that should be happening or that used to happen when we play. You know, if it's a 4-4 game in the seventh inning and you got your leadoff man on second, damn sure better be trying to go the other way and get him in, or pull the ball if you're a lefty. And then you'll see a lefty go up there and hit a first pitch fastball fly ball to left field. It's like, you're not even thinking about the game. You have to pull that ball, whether it's a fly ball or ground ball. Worst case scenario is you get that guy to third base. Okay. Nothing good is going to happen by you hitting a can of corn, lazy ass fly ball to left field, except that now we got one out and a less chance to score a run. Okay. But you don't see the guys doing that. And I honestly think that they have been convinced by the Ivy Leaguers running these teams that, hey, we don't want you to do that. We don't want you to worry about striking out. You just go up there and you try and hit the ball hard in the air every at bat. And if you strike out, you strike out. But over the course of the season, we're going to score more runs with you having this approach. And I think it's hogwash. I think it's a bunch of crap. And because you can't play every game thinking about the overall result of the season. You play that game that day to win that game. And if you're up in this situation, you know what you got to do, or you should know. I used to know. I didn't need the manager to tell me I needed to move the guy. I knew, right? And we all knew. If
Exactly.
you had baseball instincts and played the game long enough, you knew what your job was to do. And it could change during an at bat. I might get up there with a runner on second and no outs. Okay. Or let's say one out. Runner on second, one out. Now there's a wild pitch. Now it's infield in. So I have to completely change my approach. Now I'm trying to look for something out over the plate up to try and hit a fly ball to at least, worst case scenario, get a sac fly and give us the lead. Okay,
Sure.
so little things during the game that you have to constantly be thinking about and change, I don't believe are happening now. And I'm seeing guys on 0-2 counts swing at fastballs like they're trying to hit it 500 feet. And I'm like, and this is accepted now. And people are like, well, if he hits a ground ball, he's out anyway. The defense is so good. It's like, oh, in the last 10 years, human beings have evolved so much that now we're better at everything, significantly better fielders, runners, pitchers, hitters, everything's in the last 10 years it's happened. I think it's obviously not wrong because the guys from every era who were the stars would be stars today.
Yeah, exactly. That's my other thing is them saying, well, okay, like you know, pitchers, Steve Carlton, all these guys, they couldn't pitch today, and I'm like, guys, with the way these guys I'm going to tell you what, people like Glavin, Smolt, or Maddox, and these guys, I'm going to tell you what, the way that they know how to pitch, they would have these guys swinging at stuff that's unreal,
Yeah, they'd be
and
better today.
yeah. Yeah,
Because
I see. I'm right with you. I
there's
mean,
the
how
lack of
much
discipline.
better would they be? I mean, back then you're talking about them pitching to guys that knew how to sit there and play. 0-2, guess what? Yeah, my whole approach has to change. And it's funny. I mean, even talking to kids down here, and I mean, I beat it into them. Yeah, the little things and appreciate it. I think that's where baseball has gone. The appreciation for all the little things that add up to W's. Look at how many teams lose one-run games, but yet have 15 Ks in that game and leave 9 or 10 runners on base.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's like you said, knowing that guy on second, and I come up and then nobody out. My one mission is to make sure he's standing at third base. If I K or I hit or I rip a one hopper at the third baseman who's standing there, or I pop out the left. I mean, you come back. I always tell the kids, I said, with good teams, I said, watch them. And I said, watch if there's a bunt and everything else. I said, what's everybody doing? You see them come out of the dugout and it's like, okay, you did your job and everything like that. These kids now, I mean, they'll rip that one hopper and you're like, well, that was really a horse crap at bat and
they
everything
don't
like that.
think
And they're
they
like,
think it was a good at bat. They think
yeah,
it was
I
good
put
because
a,
they
I
hit it
put a
home.
good hit on the ball. Yeah, a good hit right to somebody that didn't do one thing for the team. Hit it to the second baseman like that and move him over.
Yeah, and I've told people that before. I don't think they believe me, but if you come up with a runner on second base and you hit 100-mile-an-hour line drive right at the shortstop, you failed. Okay,
Sure.
and if you hit a 19 hopper to the second baseman, you succeeded because you did something to help your team. And I think too much emphasis in hitting is put on the exit velocity and all these quality at bats. A quality at bat is doing something to help your team. It's not all individual about how hard you hit the ball, and you hit that fly ball the warning track that did nothing, and the coach says, good swing, you just missed it. It's worthless to me. I'd rather you hit a swinging bunt and beat it out. That's something. You're on base. My job was to get on base, and I didn't care how I did it. If it's a walk, hit, or error, or hit by pitch, I was trying to get on base for those dudes behind me, because I knew I couldn't score and run from the dugout.
Sure, I hear. Interesting story. The one I think you'll like pretty well. A couple years back when I was coaching at Penn State, we were outside Pittsburgh at a showcase there, and they were taking their exit velocities, and I'm just sitting around and watching the on deck kids, and all they're talking about is oh, I want to sit there and show them my power, my power, my power, and everything like that. And I watch these kids go up and they hit, five fly balls straight up, and, roll over a couple. They're swinging coming out of their shoes and everything. And finally, I was like this. I went like up to the on deck people and all that were waiting, and I said, guys, you want to impress me? I said, you see that net back there that, is like right back behind second base and goes up about 30 feet? I said, I want to see right center to left center line drives 15 to 30 feet off the ground, rope solidly. I don't care what your exit velocity is. I
Mm-hmm.
want to see you be able to put the ball, gap wise with power. I'll work on everything else with you and everything else like that. I want to see you guys square balls up. Don't be up there trying to sit there and, you know, go for that 450-foot home run. And it was funny, the looks that I got. And it's like, wow, this guy doesn't really care about exit velocity. No, I want to see you swing. Well, I love my hair. When I was at Mars in Pittsburgh, and it was funny. We had great teams. 5 years with Coach Bednar there. We put 34 kids in college baseball, and we could really hit. But I'm going to tell you what, in the summer, Jeff, when you came back for high school, you had to sit there and work like twice as hard because these guys go to the lessons, people. We had one kid that I'm going to tell you what, he was a catcher, 6'3", 220 pounds. And I'm telling you what, as his sophomore year, my first year, kid was straight down and just ripped line drives, was an RBI machine. Comes back, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do. And I'm going to tell you one thing. I mean, he just popped up. 200 foot shots, shortstop, second baseman, short left, and everything. Or, or couldn't figure out why a fastball just above the belt, he's swinging under and missing it. And I'm like this. I said, I don't know who taught you this, but I said you got to go back to the old way. And they were, I mean, somebody convinced him, hey, you're 6'3", 220. Your job is to hit home runs. And I always used to tell our team there, if there's one thing I know we have guys and home runs are going to come and all that. I don't want to lead in home runs. Okay, that's great. I want to lead the Western Pennsylvania League in RBIs because that's going to let me know that my kids know how to hit with people on base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, they've fallen in love. Everybody's fallen in love with the home runs, and I think that's why we were talking about guys like us growing up that the people today say that we couldn't play today because the game's so much better and so much different, and we didn't. I didn't hit enough home runs. The guys say I would have never made it to Double A or even get drafted today because how was I going to hit home runs at 5'9", 160 pounds? The balls weren't juiced back then like they are
No,
today.
no,
The bats weren't near as good. The ballparks were bigger. I mean, I had to get all of one in batting practice. There'd be plenty
sure.
of days in BP in the major leagues where I didn't hit one ball over the fence in batting practice because I couldn't. And so you want me to hit home runs, and you want to criticize me for not being able to hit home runs? I mean, if I wasn't the smallest guy in the big leagues, I was one of the five smallest guys. One season I finished the season I was 5'9", so I was 5'9", 155 pounds at the end of the season with 4% body fat because I was just withered away to nothing. Six
Yeah,
6 months of baseball. So when I hear the people that talk about the guys from my era and say that we couldn't play today, these guys are just too good, I laugh because I think what I see in the major leagues is a lot of showcase ponies that have big power and can run and have great arms, but they don't know how to play baseball.
they
But they get
strike out
drafted.
200 times a year.
Yeah, and they got drafted because some intern who's working in the scouting department saw his exit velos and his velocities and all this stuff and said, "Oh, this guy should be good." If you look at a comparison, I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm rambling on, but if you look at a comparison of somebody like Aaron Judge, okay, there's nobody else like him,
No,
nobody else. But if you take a guy like Joey Gallo, okay, let's compare him to Aaron Judge. Okay, they both have 80 power, right? Aaron Judge has a better hit tool, but at one point Joey Gallo was hitting 250.
hmm
Joey Gallo is probably a better athlete than Aaron Judge. He's an incredible athlete. He's got a great arm. And they both have great arms, and he can run better than Aaron Judge. So if you look at this guy on paper, you're going to say, all right, this guy's 80 power, 40 or 50 hit tool. Hopefully it gets better. He's got a 70 arm. He's a 55 to 60 runner. Obviously, he's going to be a great baseball player.
sure.
in 10 years, he's got a 194 career batting average and just signed to a minor league contract. And then you see Aaron Judge on the other side, who's arguably the best player in the game. So you can't just look at these guys with all their measurables and say, oh, this guy's gonna be good. You have to get baseball players, and not all baseball players look physical. Some of the best hitters I ever played with, man, were a little chubby and didn't look very athletic. They damn sure hit. Look at John Kruk. So you can't just. I think baseball messed up when they started doing their combines and stuff like football. It's like football. You can't always tell if a guy's going to be a good football player just because he has, he can bench press 225 30 times and runs a 4.4. That doesn't mean he knows how to find the football, right?
Well, it's funny, Jeff, because I do a ton of football players too, and being from Western Pennsylvania, man, it's a big football background, and uh, the big thing now is in the summer they have these 7-on-7s. Okay, there it's all skill and everything like that, and they're like, wow, okay, my team competed with this. I said, okay, that's all well and good and everything like that. Now I said, wait until those big hogs come out. The five guys on the offensive line or on the defensive line that make a complete difference in the game and
Yeah.
everything like that. I mean, yeah, that's great, kid. You know what? With no pass rush and everything, yeah, I'm glad you had 9 catches for 170 yards. Now, with somebody bearing down on your quarterback, now, when you put those kind of numbers up like that, there you go. Okay, now
And that
you're showing me something.
and that first catch you make and you get flattened.
Sure.
See if you're as uh, eager to go across the middle next time when that
Yeah.
guy's got a face mask planted in your chest.
But and it's funny. I mean, and you call it showcase, and I'll be the other one. I'm going to say, how many guys do you see in batting practice that are just like unbelievable and all that, and then you go to a game and all that, and you watch, and they do not transfer their approach and their swing and everything like that to the game. I mean, I sit there and I usually tell our guys, first round, you're going up the middle, oppo. Everything else after that, guess what? When they pay you millions for and all that, and you're in the major leagues, then you can go put on your show and all that for all people. I said, for what we're trying to do here, we're looking to own the big part, right center to left center, and everything like that. And I get them swinging, 80 to 90%. I don't want you in there trying to, tear and pull and do this. And I said, well, this is all about timing. And they're in there raking the ball. And I'm like, that's all you got. That's what you have to do in the game. Get into that mode right there. And they get in the game, and the first thing, man, they're opening, their heads moving, they're trying to yank, and that. And I'm like, how much better would you be if you're ripping the ball like you are like your approach is doing in BP, then you going up there with no approach, just looking to pull ball and hit it as far as you can. I mean,
They're just
eh,
looking for the exit below, and
sure,
to me, that's one of the worst things. I did a camp a couple years ago, and they had like the blast motion things on the bat. So I went up to these kids. I said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, "Do you change your swing when you have that on your bat?" I said, "Do you try to swing harder to get a higher number?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "That's defeating the purpose." I said, "Because I know for me, I mean, I was obviously a power hitter, so I don't know if I ever swung as hard as I could. Honestly, even in games, I mean, I would swing controlled violence as hard as I
controlled
could,
aggression. Yep.
and staying balanced. Um, because usually when you try to swing hard, you get long and it slows you down, fly off and all that. So I hardly ever swung hard. But when I see these kids working out and hitting stuff in the cages and stuff, every swing it seems like it's as hard as they can swing. It's like,
Yeah.
not going to work in a game, guys. Why are we practicing stuff that doesn't apply to the game situation? And I think a lot of it is the people they're going to for instruction,
Sure.
because this hitting guru over here or swing coach, he wants to use the video of you hitting a ball 430 in the cage to promote himself to the next guy who wants to sign up. See, look what I did for him. Look at him. He's hitting cage bombs 450, right? Yeah, but in the game, he's going to swing through the ball because his swing is too long and he's not going to hit it. So it doesn't really matter what he does in the cage. And I just think there's just too many people all over the game, that are advising these kids wrong. And the old school coaches that don't need radar guns and don't need stopwatches and don't need iPad to tell you if you hit the ball hard. Those guys are gone, for the
Yeah,
most part. There's just not many
and
of them left.
and don't have all the gizmos and everything else. Yeah, hey, let's go out. Bring your glove. Let's go out. Let's work on this. Bring your bat. Let's go. Hey, let's go work on what we tinkered with, and being able to teach the game that way and in the right way. And so, I mean, I do, man. And I see that you comment with a little smile and all that when I'll comment on some of the stuff that you that you post about people and how they're doing stuff. And it's, oh my God. I'm like, where did they think this up? I mean, jumping off of a chair, landing on one foot and swinging. When the hell do you do that? Crazy thing with my players right now, the pull downs, okay? Where you're going to run 15 yards and sit there and just angrily throw your body, almost tear your arm out and all that to say, oh boy, I throw 90 miles an hour. And I'm like this. They're like, Coach, why don't we do that? I said, when do you ever do that in a game? When do you ever catch a ball, run 15 yards, and then just uncork it to where you don't even know what's going on? I said, it has nothing to do with the game, does it?
Now, and people are, man, anytime I post a video like that, the people just go nuts and they're like, this is good. I mean, these kids are already warmed up, and this is the same thing as long toss. I'm like, long
Wow.
really? Long toss, I would take a shuffle and throw it. Okay.
Yeah,
And just keep backing up and backing up. And, maybe toward the very end of the long toss, I was almost throwing it as hard as I could. But I was building up arm strength. I wasn't going to, get some 14-year-old kid who's not fully developed with his growth plates, still open, and have him throw a ball into a net, and a bunch of kids with no shirts on pounding their chest going, yeah, you threw it 80 miles an hour. Yeah, but in the game, you throw 62 because you don't get to
yeah,
run 15 feet. So I really am concerned for that kind of stuff with injuries for kids, because you start tearing those little muscles and fibers when you're 14 and you keep doing this stuff. And then by the time you're 18 and you're all excited for your senior year and you blow out and you miss your senior year, that's didn't just happen because of what you did today. It happened because of all the stuff you've been doing over the last 4 years that led to this injury. And when I see those stupid pull downs and stuff, and there's just so many. Why are there, twice as many, if not more, Tommy John surgeries now than there were before? We're doing
yeah.
something wrong.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm like, okay. Well, the whole thing right now too is, these kids come. I was supposed to have Tommy John, and you know what? I'm like, hey, release me. Back then, I didn't know how to throw like Tommy John, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to wait, 2 years because you remember what it used to be like back then. It was very inconclusive whether you do it now. They put this prefab stuff in and everything, and okay, I'm going to throw harder. I mean, I have one guy whose son is, but he's still in college and he's had 3 operations already, and I'm like, do you think something's real? I mean, you really need to sit there and think before this kid totally can't use his arm anymore. I mean, there's obviously something wrong and everything else like that. But you
There's a
know,
let me say this real quick. So there's a guy, I won't mention his name, um, that he owns like one of those velocity training places in Texas. Okay, he's a major leaguer. Um, so he has his facility and whatever. All these kids go, they're high school kids, go train at this place. This guy's had 3 Tommy John surgeries. So, I mean, why are you going to send your kids to the place where he's doing all the drills that your kid's going to do? Yet here he is on his 3rd Tommy John surgery. How many think you can't have an endless number of Tommy John surgeries? Eventually, your arm's not going to work right. You're not going to be able to straighten it out, and you're not going to have normal use of your arm for the rest of your life. And it's just, I mean, it's just insane to me that people send their kids there and they get hurt and they go, oh, he's going to do his rehab there. It's like, yeah, and then he's going to be healthy and he's going to hurt it again. It's like,
exactly. You're going to go through the same old, same old. They're not going to change the routine and all that. Believe me. Well, sir, I will tell you what, man. I enjoyed it, and I think we've gotten some good stuff out there. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your time and your wisdom with everybody. And if I can ever do anything for you, I mean, you know how to get in touch with me. And I really think that you know what people need to start heeding and all that and taking some of the things that are being said and getting back to I know it's never going to be go back to the normal thing that we had and everything like that, but hopefully enough people are still teaching it the right way and everything like that. And Jeff, thank you so much for everything that you shared today.
Oh, you're welcome, buddy. And before I go, I would say the last thing that I'd like to say was that there's a lot of former professional athletes. You don't have to be a former professional athlete, obviously, but there's a lot of former major leaguers now that are on social media that are speaking out and doing stuff. And um, we're not getting paid to do this. Okay, we're doing this because we want to help your kids, and we know there's no benefit to us except that hopefully we'll save your kids from getting injured, okay, or help them, give them some type of pointers that maybe will help them advance in their career. But we're not getting anything out of this, okay? So
Sure.
there's no point in us lying to you or deceiving you to tell you these things that we did growing up work, because they still work today. But a lot of the people that you're listening to who weren't successful at the sport are telling you all these secrets and these cheat codes and all these shortcuts that don't exist. And unfortunately, a lot of you will find out the hard way when they don't work. And you could stop that and prevent that from happening if you just listen to people who've been in the game their whole life, who really care about these kids and want to see them be successful.
Absolutely. Great point and a great way to end. And once again, Jeff, man, thanks a lot and keep sharing, man. I enjoy everything that you do, and thank you so much again for coming on and helping out here with my interview today.
No, you're welcome, buddy. I appreciate you having me.
All right, Chief, take care.
Okay.
And we're off.